Hello, everybody. I'm Mel Doerr, the Aloha Shirt Psychic, and welcome to Morning Moments with Mel. So grab yourself a cup of Joe and let's go. I forgot my cup of Joe. Let's get down to business. First of all, my hair looks a mess because I'm at my office and it's really windy here in the suburbs of Chicago. The wind is really whipping and it's going to be warm today. You're probably wondering what my shirt says, and it says, "Not Your Average Psychic." So, welcome to Not Your Average Psychic. I want to thank Linda Grindle because I called her yesterday morning and I'd had anxiety attacks the night before because of this whole SCOTUS thing and the whole question of immunity. And she said she was going to have a show with Andre. And I said, "Can I join you guys?" I invited myself in a way. And Linda's wonderful. And she said, "Absolutely." But I just thought a lot of other people out there uh, might be on a ledge about the whole SCOTUS thing. And so I said, "Linda, you can help talk me off the ledge and all of our other followers out there." So I want to thank her for allowing me on the show. And Andre had some really interesting points. So I would suggest that you all go and watch that show on Linda's channel yesterday with Andre. He's an excellent, excellent astrologer. And he's a very smart man. And he's a nice man. So check it out because there was some good points on there. Boy, that whole thing with SCOTUS just showed me the hypocrisy of the Trump appointees. The six justices, well, there's six conservative ones, three that Trump appointed. They talk about the fact that they're textualists, that they interpret the Constitution exactly what it says, word for word. But yet, and they accuse the liberals of making provisions where they don't exist in the Constitution. But yet that's exactly what the Trump three and the other conservative three justices, in my opinion, absolutely did. They did the same thing that they were accusing the liberals of doing. They molded it to fit what they needed. And my guy just showed me that Trump lawyers had met with at least 4 or 5 justices, so-called conservative justices, before this hearing even happened. And I'm sure they met with and this is for entertainment purposes only, I'm sure that Trump's lawyers met with, I think, at least a couple of justices that Trump appointed. So it would seem to me like the type of questions that some of those justices were asking, that their minds were already made up before they even listened to that hearing, to those arguments. And I think the reason that some of the conservatives on the court agreed to hear the case is because it was already a done deal, but they could say, "We've heard the case and here's what we're basing our findings on." There's going to be some legal assistance to those justices that a lot sooner than later that are going to come out and say that people on Trump's team did in fact meet with those justices in order to try to sway the outcome of their decision on the absolute presidential immunity deal. That's going to come out. It might take a while, but you mark my words, there's going to be some whistleblowers that'll come out, and I see investigations made about this at some point in the future, and I see at least 2 justices being impeached because of it, and they will be removed from the court. It's going to take a while, but you mark my words, it will happen. When I listened to parts of those arguments, Trump's theory, his lawyer's theory, was so flawed. There's nothing in the Constitution, nothing explaining or nothing that mentions presidential immunity. And yet they're the ones that wanted to follow to the letter of what the Constitution said. And that's the reasoning they used to kick abortion back to the state and overturn Roe v. Wade on the federal level. But that won't work either, because at some point with a new court, I see justices reinstating Roe v. Wade. And at some point, I do say that presidents cannot have absolute presidential immunity. I did a show with Deanne and Lena Rodriguez, and Lena Rodriguez hit something that I think was really absolutely amazing. When we were asking about the absolute immunity thing, Lena Rodriguez said that she felt that the Supreme Court would kick the can further down the road and kick it back to the states. Well, you can't kick it back to the states because the states have no control over the federal government. But I think what she meant, and I'm sure I can't speak for Lena, but I'm sure this is what it was, that she meant to kick it down to a lower court, to remand it down to a lower court. And that's exactly what the Supreme Court, they haven't ruled yet, but that's exactly, and I could be wrong, I hope I'm wrong, but in my opinion, what they're going to do, they're going to remand it down to a lower court. And mind you, the Supreme Court is not going to make their decision on this known until May, maybe, or June. So by remanding it down to the lower court, then what's going to happen? The lower court's going to have to hear re-arguments about the whole thing, blah, 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 blah. Then Trump is going to appeal it like he always does. Supreme Court doesn't meet again until October. And if they hear the argument, then that's going to, then they're not going to give a decision for another 2 or 3 months. So in a way, this is a win for Trump. It is. But Lena Rodriguez was right. But just because it appears as if he wins a battle or two does not mean he will win the war. I still see Trump going to trial for the insurrection stuff, which lets me know that he's not going to be president. If he's president, there's going to be massive cheating going. It lets me know he's not going to be president. And I see him convicted of those insurrection charges. So Jack Smith will not give up. The only way this would go away would be as if Trump wins or a Republican wins and they would fire the attorney general and put together a new justice system and just tell them to drop the case. That's a possibility, but it's a possibility that my guides tell me will not happen. And I default back to when I was at the Lincoln tomb. What came through, I feel, from Lincoln, I know it sounds kind of crazy, but that our democracy will prevail, justice will win, and our union will survive. So, and I kept asking, what about the SCOTUS thing? I was asking my guys. I didn't sleep that night. That whole night I thought about it and thought about it. And it came back, don't worry, justice will prevail. So that's what I'm going on. No one is above the law, including him. Now, I heard, Kavanaugh, and I think there was another justice, they wouldn't even listen to what, I think Jack Smith had a brilliant attorney arguing the case against absolute immunity, but they wouldn't even listen to it. They were like, oh, no, we don't want to hear the facts on this case. We're just worried about what implications it's going to have for future presidents. Well, hello, that's what you're supposed to do, is listen to the facts of a case that the attorney is arguing in front of you. And they didn't do that. What I see in the future is a lot of this dark money that's going to fuel some of these justices. Hello, Clarence. There's going to be rules against that. And there's going to be rules set in place where these justices can no longer be influenced behind the scenes like they have been. Furthermore, my guides are telling me there's going to be term limits for Supreme Court justices, EA. And again, my light bulb went on, and I don't know if anybody has seen this or not, but I'm seeing it that there's going to be a couple of justices that'll be impeached. In order to do that, I don't know the process. I think it has to go through the House and then they're tried in the Senate. But there's going to be some damning evidence that'll come out about them. And so at some point in the future, when we get a new court, as I said, Roe v. Wade will be upheld, but also arguing the case about presidential immunity, and the court in the future is going to overturn what this court does. Yay. At some point, my guides have also shown me that Trump's presidency will be declared invalid. That's a long way off, but a lot more coming to the forefront with the Mueller report. A lot of prosecutions are going to be coming out of that. So we haven't seen the end of this yet. Even if Trump kicks the bucket, they're still going to be prosecuting a lot of these people that were guilty of collusion, breaking the law. Trump's broken so many laws. It's almost unfathomable how many he broke before, during, and after his presidency, and what to prosecute. I never thought I'd say this, but with the laws, with all the laws he broke, it's almost a triage. A triage is a system of allotment based on needs. What crimes were the largest? What crimes, it's like, where do we start? But what this Supreme Court, they haven't ruled yet, so maybe I'm being too premature. But there, some of the things that Kavanaugh said and Gorsuch said were so flawed. And I'm not a constitutionalist, I'm not a lawyer, but it didn't take a rocket scientist to figure it out. Clarence Thomas, oh, he's going to be for Trump no matter what. Clarence Thomas should have recused himself. And I see laws and legislation coming in the future that if there's a conflict of interest in these cases, it's going to be that those justices must recuse themselves. Clarence Thomas, the Supreme Court, has the last word, but ultimately they won't, because I see this going back to a different court. And I see 2 justices being impeached, and 1 or 2 of them actually removed from the court. These justices were not worried about our democracy. They, in my psychic opinion, for entertainment purposes only, have been gotten to. So they weren't concerned about the textual context of the Constitution at all, because there's nothing in the Constitution explicitly mentioning presidential immunity. So it shows how hypocrite that they really are. I mean, 2 years ago, they relied on that strict interpretation of the Constitution's text to overturn federal right to abortion. And look at what's going on. And by the way, a lot of those states that are filing suit against the EOC, they won't win. It'll go up to appeals courts and all of that stuff, and the appeals courts will overturn their lawsuits. We'll just see what the Supreme Court will have to say about that one. The other thing I want to touch on is the Supreme Court could have just said, we're not going to hear this immunity case. We're going to let the lower courts handle it. That's what they should have done. All right. But I'm sure that there was an influence with some of the Chief Justice to get this case brought before the Supreme Court. Linda Grindle says she sees a 5-4 decision. That's exactly what I see. I did see 5-4. My hopes is Amy Coney Barrett will side with, at least 3 other justices, which would make it 4. And maybe they can get Chief Justice Roberts on their side to say that there's no absolute presidential immunity. But I just have a feeling that they're going to remand it back down to the lower court. But remember, it'll look like a win for Trump, but he won't win. So back to Trump's trial, I saw him out there complaining because he couldn't be with Melania for her birthday. Is that a crock? I'm stuck in court. They won't let me come for my wife's birthday. Did he think about that when he was having multiple affairs with porn stars and then paying hush money to try to cover it up with what his lawyers said. It was the hush money was paid to protect his family. It wasn't. It was paid so that those stories wouldn't break. He didn't want it to hurt his chances as being president. It was done deliberately, that hush money payment. Trump's going to be convicted in New York. And here again, my guides told me a lot of people were underestimating the importance of this New York criminal trial, and it is of the utmost importance. So even if the Trump federal trial for the insurrection gets pushed until after the election, that gives the states a chance to try Trump, especially in Georgia. That trial is going to happen soon, and he's going to be found guilty there as well. He'll try his shenanigans there, but here again, the judge down there is not going to put up with any nonsense. As far as the records case is concerned, presidential immunity doesn't cover that because he took the records after he was president. He's going to say he took them while he was president, but we know he didn't. And I see Eileen Cannon removed from that case. The 11th Circuit Court will remove her. And if they go up to the Supreme Court will kick it back down to the 11th Circuit Court. Thank God the Supreme Court will do something right. Because God knows they're not ruling in a lot of times in what's right for the American people. It's more based on keeping their candidate free from jail and pandering to the ultra-right Christian extremist MAGAs. That's what they're doing, and it's wrong. It's so wrong. And that's going to bite them in the butt for that. You mark my words. All right. Then Trump said, oh, I can't go to my son's graduation. He used that as an excuse. The judge hasn't even ruled on that yet, and he's already using an excuse. Did he worry about that when he was committing these crimes? Trump will use anybody. My wife, I can't go to her birthday. My son, I can't go to his graduation. Anybody he can use to make himself victim and martyr to try for his own political gain. I will lay you to $1 to a donut. If Judge Merchan says that he could go to his son's graduation, I'm just curious if Trump would go. And then Trump says, oh, I can't go out and campaign. They won't let me. Oh, really? Well, you're not in court on Wednesdays, Donald. Why can't you go out and campaign on Wednesdays? No, you're too busy being on the golf course. Trump uses anything he can use as an excuse, using other people for his own personal gain. And it's so wrong. His own son. Wow. Then he's complaining the courtroom's too cold. It's too cold. Really? Wonder how cold a jail cell will be if you keep breaking your gag order, Donald. You're going to end up in a jail cell a little bit. And I hope they turn the air conditioner on super high. All right. The other thing I want to touch on really quick is there were a lot of tornadoes that happened. I heard that last night tornadoes hit Nebraska and Iowa, and some of them were pretty devastating. And so Omaha, Lincoln, other places got hit. So everybody, let's send healing prayers and energy to the people in Nebraska and Iowa. And I see a lot more violent storms coming. This climate change, I see, is going to produce more fierce hurricanes, more tornadoes, more flooding on the East Coast, the West Coast, here in the Midwest. We had a record warm winter, and we're going to have a record hot summer. So the thing that concerns me the most is not nuclear war. That concerns me. But the thing that concerns me the most is climate change. We have got to get a handle on it. We haven't tipped the scale, as Linda Grindle would say, to Armageddon. But if we're not careful, it very easily could happen. I can see the climate change accelerating, and it's accelerating a lot faster than I feel some of the scientists thought. But I do see world legislation being passed. United Nations coming together, NATO coming together to say we've got to curb this climate change. And the worst polluter of all is the United States. So, future I see legislation coming to prevent that. Now to the election, people are worried if Trump is going to win, what's going to happen, blah, blah, blah. I do not see Trump winning. My guides tell me he will not win. As I've said numerous times, the women will bring him down. And that's exactly what's going on. The women, I feel, and minorities will put Trump, I'm sorry, not Trump, will put Trump in jail, will put Biden in the White House. Women are hopping mad about them losing their rights to their body. Republican and Democrat, they're hopping mad about this abortion thing. They're hopping mad about these 17 states that are filing a lawsuit against the EEOC with pregnant women. So women are going to start marching en masse, and they're going to put Biden in office, I feel. The other thing, people are worried about the young Palestinian vote and Biden not getting that. He will, because I'm feeling that Biden is going to publicly admonish Netanyahu, and behind the scenes, Biden is going to tell Netanyahu if he doesn't stop the massacre in Gaza, then Biden will cut funding to Netanyahu. I'm very, very pro-Israel, but anti-Netanyahu. And in this Pesach season, I am praying for peace to Gaza. And my guides also tell me that justice will be served to those innocent people in Gaza who lost their lives because of Netanyahu's nonsense. We all know that Hamas was, that Iran was behind Iran and Russia were behind the whole Hamas thing. They support Hamas. And Hamas is horrible. And what they did to Israel was horrible. Okay. But I can understand going out and trying to take out Hamas, but not innocent people. Netanyahu, I see, will be removed from power. And I see somebody coming in that's going to be a great peacemaker in the Middle East. And I see we'll have support two independent states, Palestine and Israel. So Biden will at some point admonish Netanyahu. And I see Biden getting the young Palestinian votes. There's a lot of protests going on, and I think just it's an anti-war protest, really. I don't think that people should disrupt commerce and disrupt businesses and things like that. But we do, according to our Constitution, have the right to peaceful assembly. And some of the young Palestinian Americans are exercising that right to peaceful assembly. I support that. I support anybody's right to peaceful assembly. I don't support burning and looting and disruption. I don't think they're doing that. And I think there might be some of that. The other thing I want to touch on is a Biden-Trump debate. Now, Trump said he'll debate Biden, blah, blah, blah. Biden would welcome it because he'll chew Trump to shreds. But I've got a sneaking suspicion. My guides are telling me that at the last moment, Trump will come up with some BS excuse. And here's my BS spell for those of you who need to see it. You'll hear me reading it frequently. Oh, I give it back. That's my BS spell. That Trump will come up with some excuse to try and keep from having a debate with Biden. And then Trump's going to come out and talk about how he's pro-Israel and pro-Netanyahu and blah, blah, blah. But Trump's going to hang himself. I see that those MAGA Republicans in the House, at some point, a lot sooner than later, will be gone. I see a couple of them removed, a couple more, like Boebert. voted out. Marjorie Taylor Greene gone. Matt Gaetz gone. I'm glad that Johnson, even though I don't agree with his politics, at least gave money to Ukraine because we have to stop Putin. However, Trump would give Putin everything, including our secrets. And that's going to come out too, entertainment purposes only. Anyway, I would love to see a debate between Biden and Trump because Biden would chew him up and spit him out. But Trump will find a way to sleaze his way out of it. You know, Trump is a bully, but the way he acts is covering up cowardice, in my opinion. He has no moral compass whatsoever. You know, he thinks that he's above the law, that he can do anything he wants to do, but he's going to find out that his tactics are no longer going to work. You know, it's a playbook from Putin, it's a playbook from Mein Kampf, and it won't work. It's just not going to work. So buckle up, everybody. It's going to be a wild ride. But after I talked to Linda about the whole SCOTUS thing, I took a deep breath. I talked to Andre about it, and Andre kind of outlined, you know, what the charting showed. I took a deep breath. I relaxed, and I pulled myself back together. So it's going to be a long road, but it's a road that we will win. Anyway, this is Morning Moments with Mel. I wish you the best. Have a great day. Also, Aiden came up with an idea. So what I'm going to start doing is some brief shows answering questions for my members. And then I'll answer some questions for subscribers too. But I'm going to do some pre-recorded stuff and some live stuff answering questions for my members. So everybody feel free to join. And also please subscribe. And if you hit that bell, it'll let you know when I'm going to do a show, and hit that subscribe button. At the bottom, there's a little picture of my dog, Lucky. She's such a sweet dog. If you just hold on that, it'll say subscribe. Just click. I appreciate your loving support. I appreciate you all following my channel. It's my pleasure to be able to do this for all of you all. And I wish everybody well. So aloha, namaste from Chicago. Come to our event in September. You can go on my website. And I wish everybody well. Aloha, namaste.